Afternoon, friends. Russell here. Once again at the shop. It never ends. What we got today is 2002 Corvette C-5 convertible. This car was a one-owner car, so now it's on the second owner. Guy just bought it. Less than 6,000 miles, 20 years old. So he wants new shocks installed. We're going to put some Bilsteins in it, just because of the age of the old ones. So we're going to go through the procedure on how to do front and rear shocks on this. And like the last shock video, which will be up here, I'm just going to show the removal and install on one side for you guys, just shorten the video up some. So we'll get started. Okay, so the upper shock mount in the C5 Corvette, it's a 15 millimeter nut, and then the top of the shaft is slotted. If you need to hold it, I don't know if we need to hold it yet. We're going to find out. Yep. Now, these upper mounts can actually be gotten from the top, but if you've ever looked inside the engine bay of a C6, you know that on one side you've got your washer reservoir, and on the other side you've got your coolant tank. And so in either case, those would have to be removed. All right, upper nuts out. Easier said than done. All right, so the lower mount. The lower mount is 13 millimeter bolt through a 13 millimeter nut on the bottom side. So bolt comes through the top, nuts on the bottom of the lower control arm. They're both 13 millimeter. There's really not a lot of torque on those, so they come off pretty easy. And actually on this vehicle, with it only having about 6,000 miles on it, there better not be a lot of torque on these. That's one lower bolt. That's the other lower bolt. And now it's just a matter of compressing the shock to get it to clear the control arm. And we're going to pull it out between the brake hose, the upper wishbone, and the control arm on the back side. There should be old original shock. So we'll get the new Bilstein prepped and put in. Let's see how this thing feels. It's still got a little life, but it should be stiffer than that to be a Corvette. All right. And with all Bilstein shocks, they come with new hardware. So put the washer on, the rubber bushing, and then once it's inserted, this washer and bushing will go from the top side, and then the nut will go on. Now, so the one that came out, nut was a 15 millimeter. On the Bilstein, it's a 17. Also, the one that came out, it had a slot or a flat on the upper shaft to hold it to take the nut off. The Bilstein's use an Allen wrench. It's 5 millimeters. Now you'll have to use an alignment punch to realign the bar pin at the bottom so that it lines up. And actually what I'm going to have to do is lift the vehicle up and put a transmission jack under it to settle it down. So I'll back this up real quick. And it's just a matter of putting the 2 bolts in from the top. and run the nuts up to the bottom. All right, and that's front shock replacement on a Corvette C-5. We'll get the camera moved and we'll do the rear. Now obviously, you know, before you put the car back down, put your tire back on. I torque these lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds on Corvettes, Porsches, stuff like that. So we'll get moved over to the rear and do a rear one for you. Okay, the rear shock is mounted in the top to this plate. All right, and those are, I believe, 13 millimeters as well. Yep. And then there's a giant through bolt. So the top's mounted with 13 millimeter. The bottom has a giant 24 millimeter through bolt. So the first thing we're going to do is take this through bolt out. Power tools for the win. All right, so to get that lower bolt out, I'm gonna have to jack up or take the spring tension off of this monoleaf. So I gotta run the vehicle up and get the transmission jack under it again. All right, so we'll use the transmission jack. Take the pressure off. There it is. Now that I've got that out, I'm going to take all the tension off to give me as much room as I can get to get that shock out. There we go. We'll get that out of the way. All right, two 13 millimeters. That was a little stiff. So, all right, and once the shock's disconnected upper and lower, then you've got to compress it and slip it out between the hole and the lower control arm. A lot of the Corvette guys, they'll jack the suspension and collapse it and zip tie the shock shut. That's almost more time than it's worth once they're bad. Of course, it's tight crooked in here. There we go. And there it is. Now we'll have to swap the mount piece onto the new shock, so I'm going to go do that now. We'll put this new Bilstein in. All right, now that we got the new shock assembled, installation's reverse or removal. Slip it up through the hole, and then we get to have fun collapsing this puppy. And while I've got it loose, hanging in here, I'll go ahead and put this through bolt in on the bottom side. And then we just jack it up into place and put the bolts in. All right, so just like removal, jack it up to close the gap on the shock. And we're working up here again. So the best way to do this is get the back hole lined up. And get that bolt in. Once that bolt's in, jack it up some more, finish jacking it up to close the gap and line up the outboard.
You probably use that.
Yeah. And that's all there is to it.
Just use that?
What? The transmission check?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you use it on the front too?
Yeah.
It helps compress it.
Yeah. It's still a bear because you've got to hand compress them to get them out. And the old ones coming out are easy, a lot easier than the new Bilsteins going in.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's all there is to it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this wheel back on. And then we'll get the other side done. But that's all there is to it for doing front and rear shocks on these. Like I said before, I'm just going to show you the one side. It's identical on the other. So if you like this content, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications. And as always, there's more to follow.